Folks, I slept on this one. I slept on Clone High. I don't know why. I've known about it since like 2012. I've seen it used in YouTube poops. Good source material, looks really funny. And made by Phil Lord and Chris Miller, the guys behind the Lego movie, Spider-Verse, I'm pretty sure Cloudy with a Chance of Meatballs. And above all else, a show that has to do with history. Guys, I love history. And yet, it took me years to watch this. It took me so many years to get around to Clone High. Well, guess what? I watched it. I finally watched it. Apparently, it's available on YouTube, the entire series up on Retro Rerun. By the way, the link for the video is in the description for those who want to check it out. And I think what finally pushed me over, funny enough, was hearing the announcement that this show is getting a, not reboot even, it's continuing. It's getting a continuation by Phil Lord and Chris Miller and the rest of the team who are involved. And I'm like, okay, there is so much hype about this show. I am missing out. I'm gonna watch it. And I did. And guys, I loved it. There's so much about this show that's worth loving. First off, I gotta say, the concept, it's brilliant. To have the tropey realm of a high school, making fun of Dawson's Creek or a bunch of those other like MTV high school drama shows. Oh, you're dating that person, but I love you, be with me. Oh no, my best friend's dating my ex or whatever. That's the core of the show. As far as the emotion and the characters and how they fraternize. Okay, take that, but instead of kids, of teenagers, you still have teenagers. They're just clones of historical figures. George Washington Carver, Genghis Khan, Marie Antoinette. I'm pretty sure I saw Hitler, but the main characters being Abraham Lincoln, Joan of Arc, Cleopatra, John F. Kennedy, and then Gandhi. Say what? And of course, there's like the principal. We'll get to him and his robot friend here in a bit. But yeah, these are all clones of their historical counterparts. And the synopsis is that this school is a bunch of clones, and these clones are being observed, and they're supposed to be used by, I guess we'll talk about Scudworth after all. He's the principal, he's the doctor, he made the clones. The clones are supposed to be given to the shadowy council to be used for super soldiers, but Scudworth here, who's like completely insane and very outrageous, kind of like a more not flamboyant in a feminine way, but a more outrageous way, loud, emotionally, lots of outbursts, and a bit more cartoony than I'd say Professor Membrane. And then you've got the robot assistant, I forget his name. He always says Wesley. Well, not always, funny enough.
Morty Wesley. He calls everyone Wesley. Don't know why.
The show it knows its characters. It knows what it's messing with. It knows that it's supposed to be playing on the tropes of high school dramas. But to have like Cleopatra, one of the most beautiful women, historically speaking, and from what we're told, of history, historically speaking of history, good writing, Saber Spark. You got her dating Abraham Lincoln with John F. Kennedy trying to lay her down as well, with Gandhi, instead of being one of the greatest pacifist peacemakers of all time. He's a stupid ADD, like party kid cartoon boy. It's great. Because you have these historical characters, you see these people and you already know part of their character, whether that character carries what we know as an audience about the historical figure, like Honest Abe, Cleopatra being beautiful, Joan of Arc rising up against the French? I don't know, it was a British, she was French, but she got burned at the stake. And of course, Gandhi being the peacemaker and John F. Kennedy being a bit of a playboy. Those things we already know because of history, but then you have these characters who kind of carry those things, or they play against it, or a bit of both. John F. Kennedy in the show, the clone, is a playboy. Gandhi isn't really a pacifist. He's, I don't think he fought anybody, but he's definitely like, what's up? I'm gonna go party it up. I'm crazy. Apparently, by the way, I read that there was a hunger strike in India against the representation of Gandhi in this show, so that's how well it went over in some parts of the world. You just have these great characters, and the show has so much fun playing on the tropes, goofing with them. There are moments where the tone shifts are so heavy, but in a good way, where it's like, hey, Joan, I saw you over there. Hope you're doing all right. I heard what happened to you last night. Hope everything's okay. And just the way the dialogue exchanges with these characters and how it's like, yeah, this show is painfully aware of how stupid the high school drama trope is. So you know what? Screw it. Screw the high school drama trope. We're gonna make it so much fun for these historical figures to play on that, to take this trope and flip it upside down, to have Abraham Lincoln trying to get with Cleopatra and go into Vancouver to some dance fest, to have John F. Kennedy doing a mixtape with Gandhi.
Check this out. G-Spot rocks the G-Spot. G-Spot rocks the G-Spot.
Wow, that rhymed.
Let's talk about the animation. The show has such cool stylized characters. Abraham Lincoln was a very lanky, skinny, bony guy. And in this show, he's got this like S-like shape to him. Not S, but the way his body kind of curves down like a snake. And then you got Cleopatra with her busty butt and her breast, very voluptuous. Joan of Arc, her hip kind of pushes out with her pelvis. I kind of like that though. Gandhi's got a bigger head, a smaller body. John F. K. has the bulging crotch and the big butt and his big old ears and his eyes and his hair. Just these stylized characters work so well. They're some of the most well done stylized characters I think I've ever seen. They have so much personality to them. And you combine that with the sharp writing, the great dialogue, the great characters, the witty humor. This show slaps. And I see now why so many folks love it. There's been a bit of resurgence. I know that Nintendo did a video going more in depth about, is it depth or depth? I don't even know. Sorry, Nick. Let me get back to your video. Nintendo here talks about this a bit more in depth. Go check out his video. But overall, what I'm getting at is I've noticed when it comes to memes, when it comes to just talk of the town, people are talking about it. So much so that Clone High is getting a reboot. Not even a reboot, it's a continuation. The show kind of ended on a cliffhanger. Ooh, what's gonna happen now? And it literally freezes in time, which is kind of perfect considering that I think the show like ran from like 2001 to 2002. It's been nearly 20 years later. So it's like, okay, 2 decades later. Oh my God, I'm old. Let's go. Let's see what happens next. I think the humor and the writing, especially with Phil Lord and Chris Miller and their team working on it, is gonna work perfectly for this current age. And maybe we can throw some more historical figures in there. That's one of the coolest parts about this show, are seeing the historical figures who make appearances. George Washington Carver, Martin Luther King Jr., Marie Antoinette, Catherine the Great, Nostradamus, Thomas Edison, which by the way, I appreciate that this show addresses how much of an ass Thomas Edison is and portrayed him as such, because when you read a bit more about Thomas Edison, he was kind of a jerk butt. Pardon my language. So yeah, that's where I stand with Clone High. I absolutely love it. I can't wait to see it get its, I guess, reboot in a way, to see it get a continuation. Phil Lord and Chris Miller are on a winning streak right now, and it's really neat to see them come back to a show that they could have gone like, ah, we're done with that. We ain't coming back to Clone High. And it's like, no, they like this show. That very much so speaks to their passion, that they care about this project and they want to see it be completed. And I'm all about that. I want to see what they do, how they put the finishing tight little bow on this present that is Clone High. So if you've seen Clone High and you liked it, then post about it in the comments. Post down there and maybe I'll pin your comment. But yeah, if you watched it, tell me about it in the comments. I will see you all next time.
Nothing bad ever happens to the Kennedys. Wow!